Hey, what's up guys, Tanmaya for Simple Snippets back with another video tutorial on database operations in PHP and MySQL. So this is the part 2 of this video tutorial series, and in the part 1 we basically designed the web page and the database in MySQL. So we actually did not perform a lot of PHP coding, and in this video tutorial we are going to be dealing with the insert operation. So we are going to insert values in the database using the PHP code, and let me just show you what we did exactly in part 1. So in part 1 we created this web interface. So this is the index.php page, and we also created the database, that is sample PHP DB, inside which we created a products info table. So as you can see, we already have one value which I already entered manually. So this is having 5 different columns, that is PID, PName, PBrand, PCost and quantity. So this is what we did in part 1, and if you have missed it you can check it out as well, and I'll put the link in the description as well as you can see it on the screen. So with that being said, let's start with the insert operation in this tutorial. So if you followed me throughout the part 1, this is how your index.php page would look like, and now we have to perform the insert operation. So we have to add functionality to this insert button. So we have to insert value into database when we click on this button, and in order to do that we have to first check for that click event. So in order to check that, we have an inbuilt function named isSet function in PHP, and inside the isSet function I have used the global variable which is predefined in PHP known as $_post variable, and inside the square brackets of that variable we have given the name of that button. So we've given all the buttons as well as the text boxes a unique name, and the reason why we gave them unique names is to access them inside our PHP code. So what this isSet function is going to do is it will check whether the button is set or not. Basically it is clicked or not. So it will return true if it is clicked, and it will return false if it is not clicked. So to check this functionality we can just print out a pop-up saying insert clicked. Save this, refresh your page and click on insert. So as you can see, it's showing insert click pop-up. This means that this functionality is working. So now the next thing we need to do is we have to actually connect with the database. So go to your project folder, that is samples db, and remember in part 1 I told you to create a db config folder. If you haven't created that, you can quickly go ahead and create it, and inside db config folder create a config.php file. So this is that file, and inside this file we have to write 2 lines of code which is going to actually connect with the database. So the first line is a $_con variable. So we have created a connection variable which has a predefined function which is known as MySQL_connect. So this function has 3 parameters. The first parameter is the server ID or the server IP which is going to be connecting. So in this case it is localhost because our PC itself is a server, and the server is provided by the XAMPP control panel or the XAMPP software. So the Apache server is running onto your PC itself. So that is the reason why we give your localhost. The username is going to be root and the password is going to be blank because this user is sort of like a super user and has no password. So if this function fails to execute, this part is going to get executed. So if suppose there is some issue in the connection, this die function is going to be called, and it is again a predefined function, and this message is going to be printed on the page, that is cannot connect. The second line is again another predefined function which is MySQL_select_db, which as the name suggests is going to select the database, and it takes 2 parameters. The first one is the connection variable and the second one is the database or the database name. So the database name in this case is sample PHP DB. So that is what I've written over here. If you have some other database name, you can change it at this point. Now this config.php file can be included directly inside our index.php using the require keyword or required function in PHP. So this is the first line of index.php. So you can quickly go ahead and add this PHP tag, inside which type in require and give the location of the config.php file. So for me it is inside the dbconfig folder, and this is the file name. So what this is going to do is it will copy all this code and paste it over here. So we can access this connection inside our index.php file as well. So this will take care of the initial database connection. So now we have established the connection with the MySQL database. Now what we have to do is we have to take all the values from these text boxes inside our variables. So to do that, we'll create 5 different variables because we have 5 different values to be inserted in the table. So these are the variables that I've created in PHP by using the dollar symbol, and the values inside these variables can be taken from the $_post variable, which is the global variable provided directly by PHP, and inside the square brackets we have to give the name that we have assigned to each of these text boxes. So the value inside this text box, which has the name PID, will be transferred to the variable that we created inside the PHP script. Now this @ symbol is not mandatory, and I have just wrote it to avoid certain warnings that sometimes show up. Okay, so now we have all the values, so we need to check whether the values are null or not. So just to perform some basic validations, that is required field validation, and we don't want any blank values to be inserted in the database. So in order to check for blank values, we will say if, and inside the if condition we will say $_PID equal to blank or $pname equal to blank. So basically this will check whether any of the variable is blank or not, and if it is blank we can show a pop-up saying insert values in all fields. So let's go ahead and check this. I'll refresh this page, and when I click on insert, it will say insert values in all fields. So basically our simple validation mechanism is working perfectly fine, and if all the values are successfully entered, the else part will be executed, and inside the else part we will be actually performing the insert operation. So now we need to create a query string. So I created a variable named $query which has the string, and this string comprises of the SQL statement, insert statement, which says insert into products info table. So this is our table name, and the values are the variables that we just created over here. So $PID, $pname, pbrand, pcost, and so on. And this pname and pbrand is a string variable, so that is the reason why we have enclosed them in single quotes, and the rest are numeric, so we don't have to enclose them in single quotes. So now we have just created a string. Now we have to execute this string by using a predefined function which is known as MySQL_query. So this is the function that I am talking about, which is predefined in PHP, and what it does is it takes two parameters. The first one is the connection variable, and the second one is the query string, and if it is successfully executed, it will return true value. So to check whether it is returning proper value, or to check whether it is executed successfully, we can use the if structure again, and inside that we can say if $_query, which means that if this query is executed successfully, we can print a pop-up saying value inserted successfully, and if it is not executed successfully, you can say else value is not inserted successfully, or value is not inserted. So this is the basic insert operation, and let's go ahead and check if this is working or not. So I'll refresh the page. We already have one product which has product ID 1, so I'll say product ID 2. I'll type in shoes, I'll say brand Adidas, cost is 3000, and quantity 10. So once I click on insert, it will say values inserted successfully, because we inserted all the values and there was no blank value. So let's go ahead and cross check if it is inserted in the database. Just click on this browse button, and there you go with the second record which we just entered via the web page. So this means our insert operation is working perfectly fine. So let me just give a quick recap of what all things we did in this video tutorial. So we already had the basic GUI ready from part 1. We created a config.php file which had 2 lines of code which performed the initial connection with the MySQL database. The MySQL connect function is going to perform the connectivity, and the MySQL select DB is going to select the particular database that we are performing operations on. Now this config.php file was included in our main index.php file using the require function, and we gave the path of this config.php file which was inside the dbconfig folder. What this function did is it included all the code from config.php inside our index.php so that we can access those connectivity functionality. Now after that, we needed to check whether the button insert is clicked. So we checked that using the isSet function, and when the button was clicked, we executed all this code. When the button was clicked, we created 5 different variables and took the value from the text box using $_post variable, providing the required unique name which we assigned to the text box, and we took all those values inside our PHP variables, PID, pname, pbrand, and so on. Later we checked if any of those values are blank or not. If they were blank, we gave an error message saying insert values in all fields, and if the user entered all the values correctly, we executed this query. We created a query string which had the basic insert query, and the values came from all these variables, and then we executed the string using the MySQL_query function, which took 2 parameters, that is the connection variable and the query itself, and it returned a value, and we can check if the query executed successfully by using the if structure by saying if query run, because the query run had the result of this function, and if it was successful, the if part would execute and we would get a pop-up of values inserted successfully, and if not, the else part was executed, which would give us an error. So this was the basic functionality of insert function. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you understood the basic insert functionality using PHP and MySQL. Now in the next video tutorial, we'll see how to fetch the data that we just entered in the database and show it into our text boxes in the web GUI. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Peace.